Call the TAC meeting to order. And if we could, do roll call. I'm Jackie Julian with Port Tampa Bay and also wearing the chair hat. And to my left, please.
Joel Brown, citizen appointee, City of Tampa, Vice Chair.
I'm Sean College with Planning Commission staff and sitting in today as Riverboard staff.
Brenda Corcoran, Planning Commission staff, also sitting in today with Sean College as assistant to the Riverboard staff.
Rick Kugler, Planning Commission.
Kayla Caselli, City of Tampa.
Michael Guile, EPC of Hillsborough County.
Bill Overseven, FTP.
Joe Gross, Hillsborough County Code Enforcement.
Everett Myers, City of Temple Terrace.
Anybody online?
You do have a member online. If she can unmute herself, she can say who she is.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Heather Maggio. I do apologize for not being there in person. I have at 3 o'clock, so I'm going to have to take off right before that. But it's nice to see you all, and I didn't want to miss the Tampa presentation.
Well, thank you for joining us. Right. And now we will stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment?
I don't see anyone in the room or online from the public, only staff.
Right. All right. Next on our agenda is to review and approve the previous meeting minutes from May 18th, 2026. Are there any edits from anybody? Hearing none.
I'm going to approve.
Move to approve. We have a second? Perfect. All right, May 19th.
What was the second? Sorry, Mr. Second.
It was Hillsborough County.
Thank you.
All right, meeting minutes from May 18th are approved. Moving right along to our City of Tampa Sustainability and Resilience presentation.
All right, great. Can everyone hear me online?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we hear you.
Thanks, Heather. Just wanted to say thank you for the invitation. Apologies, I did not make it last time, but here hope to make it up to you today, and we'll go through relatively a quick presentation today to just go over some of the policies, plans, and then some projects that we have either coming online or planned for the future. And I did introduce myself in the circle, but just to say I'm Kayla Caselli, I'm the Sustainability Resilience Officer for the City of Tampa. So I just want to start off by just giving a background. We're still relatively new in the grand scheme of things as a team. And so where we kind of came online was during this administration. So Mayor Pastor was sworn in May 2019. And very shortly after the first Sustainability Resilience Officer, who many of you have met, will probably know, Whit Ranger came online, was appointed, and kind of kicked things off for us, which has been great, laid a lot of the vision that we're following today. So our mission statement, I think, I'm not going to read it, but I think some of the things that might resonate with this group is enhancing the quality of life for a more sustainable and livable city, conserving natural resources, considering environmental impact. So all those things, when we're making decisions at the city, that this is part of our mission on what we're trying to influence and what we're trying to, do better work for the city and influence that. So I kind of like to say these are our big three. So we kind of have three big plans that we're trying to accomplish every single day when we come into work and put our head down, get some work done. So we have our Resilient Tampa Roadmap, which was our first plan, our Climate Action and Equity Plan, which was our second plan, and then our Heat Resilience Playbook. A lot of what's of interest to this group in particular comes in the form of the second plan. There are a few different river, shoreline, environmental impact, specific actions and goals that I'll highlight over the next few slides. But this came out June of 2023, so it's kind of crazy that it's 3 years old at this point. But we're still obviously carrying out, there's no way we've gotten through 143 initiatives in that time frame. So we're still working on a lot of it, and a lot of it we have been able to check off the box, which is great. But the 3 goals really is to mitigate carbon emissions, adapt the infrastructure for the impacts that we are already experiencing and coming, and then kind of that equity and engagement, people-centric lens on the 3rd column. So balancing those 3 throughout every action. This is kind of a highlight of the action categories. So these are the big ones. I think most of the chapter we'll talk about today is habitat and environment, which makes sense in this group. And then I just really love this graphic. I think it's a great overall summary of the city and some of the natural resources or the things, and also not natural resources and how we're making decisions, right? So one thing to kind of know, right, 23, when this was completed anyway, so it might change the numbers a little bit, but about 2,400 acres of the city are impervious at this point. Over 72,960 acres of land. So it's, I think when you do the math, it might be like 32% or so, but the city is impervious. We have, and then of note, I think for this group in particular is 127 miles of coastline. So I like to say like Pinellas County obviously gets a lot of the fanfare when it comes to coastline, rightfully so, beautiful beaches, you have barrier islands. But we are, as our summary, when you look at what the city of Tampa, we are a coastal city. And we need to start, making decisions that reflect that. So these 2 pages come out, there's 2, right? So they come out of the climate action plan. It's too small for me to go, for you guys to really see and go over, but you have that with you. And of course, the plan is available online. But this one basically says, explore opportunities to introduce nature-based solutions to the coastal edge. So I think obviously that's something that is probably of particular interest. Create a living shoreline master plan, conduct a seawall and shoreline inventory. So that's one of the things I'll kind of get into at the end of some really like maybe low hanging fruit, but obviously still need funding in order to do those things. The second one is more water quality focused, so address water quality in the Hillsborough River and Tampa Bay. And then the 3rd category to the right is develop elevated standards for habitat conservation. So all of these things are in here. There's obviously those sub initiatives and goals that we can get into some details as we see fit with time. So one of the things that it did say in the plan, which I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it said like study the Hillsborough River's tributaries, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to stormwater. One of the ways we're kind of moving the needle on that is our stormwater department is undergoing a citywide watershed master plan to really map and model all of the basins comprehensively for the first time in the city's history, so that we can make better decision making, plan the next generation of projects. And hopefully we're going to also, we'll talk about that closer to the end, to use this to update the technical stormwater manual, which hasn't been updated in a while, and it doesn't, I'm kind of giving away some of my later points, but it doesn't include today, it does not include green stormwater infrastructure like anywhere in the technical manual. So green stormwater infrastructure. So GSI at this point, like that word is not in the technical manual. What the goal is this would be complete, and then the technical manual will be updated following suit. So I think probably everyone in the room has heard obviously of the West Riverwalk expansion project that's currently undergoing. That's under construction. We received, forgetting if it's 27, 25, somewhere around that. A lot of money. We received a big grant, build grant to go ahead and create this multimodal transportation network, expand something that has obviously become a gem for our city, synonymous with Tampa and the experience people have both as residents and tourists and guests. And so one of the things we'll get into is some of the specific projects within or segments within this project that I'd like to highlight. The first one, which probably won't get as much fanfare because it already is a naturalized shoreline from Ricks on the River to the I don't know which bridge that is, but right before Blake High School, so it's Stewart Middle School. That is all already naturalized, so we actually got, this timing actually kind of worked out for the presentation this week, because I got to go out there last week with some of our Parks and Rec team to do, they were, doing invasive species identification to see like what needs to come out, what are we gonna need to come back and put back in, and then identify like this area under the bridge is pretty barren. We know that we get wave energy and erosion that's gonna happen, so is this an opportunity to do some kind of living shoreline, an oyster bag? Something to absorb the wave energy and then allow plants to recruit behind or it was planted. So this is happening, and that's about, I just did the rough estimate, so let's say 1,500 to 2,000, give or take, linear feet of shoreline there. And then the stuff that's getting a lot more of the fanfare is the built living shorelines that are happening. So this one is at Blake High School. So right after that naturalized, basically when you get to the bridge, it starts to become seawall. So Blake High School, ESA Associates is the sub on this contract under Haskell, who's going to be actually doing, or who is constructing and designed it. So here we have a few things. I think, a lot of this looks pretty familiar for those of you who've seen these type of projects, living shorelines. The other thing to note is we're actually going to be installing what I believe to be the first habitat panels on the seawall here in the river and in our region, in our city. So that'll be 175 feet. It's that little light green bar that's on the left side of the picture, and then the right is the riprap with the plants behind it. So that'll be interesting. I think it'll be a cool case study, test case to see like what kind of recruitment, because there's a lot of, sexiness for lack of a better word around the habitat panels, but like, let's see what they actually do in our ecosystem with our salinity and all the other factors that it could be. But, it's still good to try and see what we can do for those areas, especially where we might not be able to have naturalized shoreline for whatever reason. Is there a happy medium with that? So this is an example of what they put in the EPC permit, what those are going to, example of what it could look like. I don't know if it's the specific permit. And then the second part of this is the living shoreline that's going at Tony Jannus Park. So here it's, the, riprap planting behind it, and then obviously the actual path and everything is on the side. So that is already being, if you go out there and I have some pictures, there's already that stone for the riprap being installed. And actually I was like, for the planning commission folks, I was like, one of your peers, Sophia, actually took this picture. So we were out together on the river. And so they're installing that, getting some of the foundation for that going. Here's like kind of a zoomed in picture. So obviously still very early on, but this is happening and it's exciting to see.
I'll tell Sophia you gave her copyright.
Yeah.
So
Have to, right?
royalties.
Yes, royalties, absolutely. All right, so this is obviously much further up north on the river. We're gonna head over to River Tower Park in Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs has been a really big focus of the city, especially after the neighborhood action plan that was kicked off within the last 2 years. That's pretty much wrapped up. Now it's, it is called an action plan. So the hope is now that we actually go do these things and it doesn't become a plan that, cost us. So we have some projects that USF actually did, or USF was funded through a grant to complete. And so there was 3 specific areas they focused on: Rowlett Park, River Tower, Riverside Garden Park. And I'll focus on River Tower because that's kind of been, like I said, Sulphur Springs been a really big focus for the city. Anyone familiar with this park? It's pretty under-activated, to say the least. It's a lot of green space, a lot of potential. That's like the most exciting part about this park. It does have, it's, I believe, the Florida Conservation Trust. So there are conservation, elements that we have to maintain. We can't put a building, we can't put a pool. It has to basically stay naturalized. The shoreline is definitely seeing some erosion when you look at it, and we'll see what we can dream up. But one of the dream up projects that kind of happened is, anyone familiar with the north of the park, there's a lot of impervious here. There's huge strip malls, there's two on the Florida side, and then there's a dog track parcel on the Nebraska side of, on the right side of I-275. So, I mean, you know, someone called it, and I'll never forget, like, these are like apocalyptic parcels, like they're just, there's nothing, and they're dead, there's no human life, there's no green, there's nothing. At some point, they'll hopefully get redeveloped into something that is more useful, more activated, and more lively. But we still have this issue where there's a ton of runoff that's coming off of these, and there's obviously no treatment, it's just going straight into the river, which is not good. So the idea is, could we create this, you know, wetland-like, like not permitted, but a wetland-like stormwater retention pond that has, you know, this perfect rendering of course, boardwalks and access to the river, things like that. It's just conceptual. But the most amazing part of some of the modeling they did is if they were to allow the water to settle here in these ponds before flowing out to the river, they showed an 83% reduction in nitrogen and a 91% reduction in phosphorus. So like really big bang for our buck regarding nutrient runoff and pollution. And we'll see. We did submit a hazard mitigation grant program grant for this project. It unfortunately did not get funded, so we will continue to look for other funding opportunities. But this really is a water quality project more than it is a flooding project. It's, you know, the water is for the most part flowing okay, not a lot of flooding on these transportation networks. There's like 3 in the last 5 years that I found where the intersections were blocked. But the nitrogen phosphorus problem is real. It's coming fast off of all that impervious, and there's no treatment.
Just if I could jump in real quick.
Sure.
This is a project for this site and doing something there at the river, at the TAC, and the River Board has seen other presentations on and different possibilities of them, something being done, and as expressed, the same that you just expressed, that there's a great deal of benefit to the river of processing that runoff before it gets to the river, because, you know, what you're seeing is a sea of parking lots that just, you know, and when it rains, it all just goes right into the river. So I would assume that the TAC River Board is still supportive of doing something like this here. And I do recall that at one point, one of the concerns with doing something here was the Parks Department of the city of Tampa was not on board with using some of this land for treatment. Is that still, do you know if that's still a barrier or something you're working on?
I mean, they were involved in some of the design. To what extent, I don't know, because I wasn't part of those conversations and meetings. When we submitted the hazard mitigation grant program, I went to our planning and design team in the Parks Department. It was Brad Suter, because now retired, but
Maybe that
Brad,
helps.
yes, Brad and I chatted, and his, you know, the person who's actually working on some of the trail connections in this park, landscape architect, me and her talk about this park often. They were on board. Is it gonna be as big of a footprint as this? I don't know. They might have different, you know, we might have to scale it back 20%. I don't know, but they were on board realizing that this is for the benefit of the natural systems and using this park in a way. I think they just didn't want it to become, you know, to be honest, what a lot of our other stormwater ponds look like. It's just like a chain link fence, and like that's not what this park is supposed to be, and it probably wouldn't be something that would be approved by the Florida Conservation Trust that we are obligated to get everything approved for when doing anything on the site.
Let me just finish by saying if there's any developments in down the line on this, I'm sure this TAC and River Board would be interested in hearing about it on this site. And the other thing I would suggest, if at any point in the grants or anything you need support for doing something here,
Okay.
that would be something the River Board and the TAC, I'm sure, would consider a letter of support and for something happening there. So.
Great, I'll knock it, don't you worry.
Thank you.
You don't have to tell me twice, but yeah, I mean, a lot of what I found is a lot of the funding opportunities for a project of this scale, like I think their cost estimates, of course, it's just conceptual, was like minimum of $5 million minimum. And that probably doesn't include like the boardwalk and a lot of like the programmed areas. That's just for a lot of the retention, redoing the pipes and resizing, redirecting. So for water quality, I'm not seeing as many opportunities like Resilient Florida, those big buckets, they're all focused on flooding. This provides maybe some flooding, but apparently not at the cost benefit ratio that they're looking for. Therefore, I was not awarded HMGP for FEMA, right? So water quality at this point, they're not labeling as a hazard. Which, you know, we can make our problems. Okay, anyway, so here are some of our challenges, right? So kind of my take is that there's no city department that's dedicated to water quality and restoration on the river and bay above and beyond permitted requirements. I don't have to talk about. So obviously they have their duty, but to, you know, I think anyone who was here for the storms, like flooding is the topic. That's all our residents right now are really interested in. That's the priority for funding. And I don't think we're getting away from that anytime soon. Next is we really need a seawall inventory when it comes to that 127 miles of coastline. We have some coastline that's owned mainly as Parks and Rec and Mobility. Those are like the two main departments. But even along the river, walk through, like, is it you? Is it me? I don't know. And we have thankfully some really great landscape architects who are like pushing for the living shorelines on the West River Walk expansion, but like they're not, you know, coastal stuff is not their engineer, is not their expertise. They just care about this stuff, and we happen to have really great people in those roles who would like to push the boundary. But it would be great if we could have someone who's this is their bread and butter, who could really advocate for these things. But bare minimum is like we need to know where and what condition these seawalls are in so that we can start getting prepared to make really, you know, data to use to make good decisions on what our next generation of coastline looks like, is how I like to put it, and we don't have that at this point. And then, you know, our team, you could argue like our team is here to do restoration and water quality above and beyond permitted requirements, which is true. We are, but we're small. We're just a team of 3 with one of us only focusing on energy efficiency and renewables. So we're small, you know, small. We do water quality, heat, everything under the sun basically, and we don't have a capital budget. So I basically have to try to tell other departments how to spend their money, which they absolutely love, or go get grants, which, you know, obviously 2-3 years ago, grants was amazing. Like we were coming to the table to these departments with like, hey, we have this $20 million funding opportunity. Like we gotta come to the table so we can like design stuff together. We can get your needs done, and then also our goals and priorities. Obviously that's shifted. But we also have great opportunities. One of my goals is to try and create some more. We have, you know, the Tom Reese, right? We have Tampa Bay Watch. Like we have all these amazing experts in our backyard, but we don't have these like formalized processes through our procurement team. You know, all the fun red tape, so that we can add some expertise and bolster city capacity. There's a way to do it. We just have to, you know, go through the pain of going through that process and figuring it out, which I'm very much willing to do. Another thing is the city of Tampa is undergoing, obviously this is not news for the planning commission folks, our first land development code update comprehensively since the 80s. So this is really an opportunity to implement these policy changes at scale where Kayla doesn't have to, you know, catch every project or meeting, because I can't humanly do that, nor can anyone else who will follow. And so how do we just make it so that the foundation is better, so that I don't have to be, you know, trying to prime myself into projects or giving my opinion, rather it's just the way it has to be done. There are several projects along the river, many of which we just saw today, that are underway or plans to try and, you know, use to go get funding. And as I said earlier, we have the watershed master plan that's being should be completed in 2027-ish. And then that will be the opportunity where we need to update the stormwater technical manual to include a lot of the things that probably people in this room care about, as do I. And I just wanted to give a shout out, I was like, to Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. Obviously the coastal master plan is happening, where I wish I could be even more involved, but I'm trying to be as involved as I can. And so this is a great opportunity for our entire region, and especially for our city and county, to be very vocal, be plugged into the process. They've made a lot of their meetings, you know, hybrid or virtual, so that people can attend regardless of where they are. And with that, I'll say thank you. Are there any questions?
Well, I just have,
Or comments?
yes, it was a great presentation. Thank you so much. I would say the one thing that we've touched upon a few times in our TAC meetings is some City of Tampa shoreline stabilization projects
Okay,
where there seems to have been an opportunity to do a little bit more sustainability and resiliency in green
yeah,
infrastructure versus solid, straight up seawalls. And so we had discussions, how can we get to the table for those kinds of conversations with the city staff on an earlier level so that we can maybe brainstorm and put our feedback in on some other opportunities that might be slightly more environmentally friendly
yeah.
infrastructure.
Yeah, that's fair. Kind of same for me. Like, I also want to be involved in those processes, but again, it's obviously hard to be plugged into every single capital project that's happening in the city. It's not humanly possible for one person. And that kind of comes down to there's no one owner, right? So we have Parks and Rec folks who, we have some of them who are really pushing the boundaries on trying to advocate for these things, but we might have others in the department who this is not their expertise. And so we have non-coastal engineer, non-coastal folks making coastal decisions, and that's just the reality. How we can get plugged into the process, I don't know. It's like there's not really a formal approval process for these, like other than going, obviously the budget being approved for council. We have really, really large capital projects. We kind of have a senior, director administrators will get together and kind of inform the mayor, but it's not like my chance to vote, no, I don't like this project. It's more just commentary. Sometimes the design is already done at that point. So I think that's just honestly room for improvement, but I just don't know that infrastructure on process really exists, to be honest. And we could just keep chatting. Yeah, we could just keep chatting about it. Obviously, I would like to see that.
Thanks, sir. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments?
For the seawall inventory, you guys looking for, you said it'd be the owner of the seawall and then the current condition of the seawall?
I mean, just even where all of our seawalls are. I mean, I could look on a map, but the boundary between like, is it private, public?
Yeah.
Which one is actual seawall, what type, the condition, which one's, where do we have natural shoreline, all of that like just really foundational data, we don't have it.
Gotcha. And then that would be for the full stretch of the river within the city of Tampa boundaries, or just for that like downtown area?
No, I would, if I were to do it, I would do all of it.
Okay.
Every single piece of shoreline of the city, just within city of Tampa boundary.
Yeah.
And, obviously focusing on what we own, but we could also map the private stuff too.
Gotcha. Because at least the start would be, we could potentially start CCing you on shoreline stabilization permits that we're issuing. So at least you have the information of like, okay, there is a seawall on this permit or
Right.
on this property because a permit just got issued for it. We could always do that. So at least you're getting up-to-date information on where there are seawalls and riprap and other things like that.
Yeah.
Going in.
Absolutely.
If you want to send me like a good email address, we could add you to the CC list.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Are you only interested in the shorelines that are actually owned by the city of Tampa? Or do you, I think he's talking about.
Private, yeah. I mean, I think it's good to know regardless, but when I'm talking about the inventory, I'm really, I guess, talking more about like public
Okay.
property. Like,
Okay.
what do we own, what condition is it in, so that we can make good decisions or try to at least plan to make better decisions for when that seawall, I'm sure it's no surprise to you all, a lot of that seawall is coming to the end of its lifespan, and so decisions need to be made, and we also have to start figuring out from a budget standpoint, where are we gonna find the funding for all this? Even if it is to naturalize it, there's still work that needs to be done and money to be spent.
I think that would be a lot simpler
Yeah.
query for us to do, to simply just look for city of Tampa and then just look for seawall and riprap permits, because we both have databases here locally for our permitting. So we could certainly get that to you. So at least you have some sort of a starting point.
That would be great.
Okay, yeah, so definitely let's get our emails at the end of the meeting, so we can get that to you.
Perfect.
And then I had one more.
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
I'm here
Um,
here to answer your questions.
Sometimes it's a little slow. So we've also, I've had a couple of, different people, citizens and, different groups who own property along the river. And we did a permit for redoing a lot of the waterway signage for the boat speeds. There's still gaps. And so regarding the resiliency, sustainability,
Yeah.
regarding the weight on some of those shorelines, people have reached out to us asking, how can we fill in those gaps and get a slower boat speed so it's consistent and not so much wake and erosion issues? So if that is something that you guys could maybe put on your list as well, because there's certain requirements that have to be met, I guess, to officially have a slower speed zone.
Yes.
And those criteria with FWC, that's some of the hurdles that are being faced. And one of the most common criteria is there a public park or is there public access? And if that is there, then that's like one of the easiest ways to initiate a slower speed zone. So if that could be something that maybe you guys could take to your team or to the team members, and continue those conversations for filling in those voting speed zone gaps.
Yeah.
I know that would be a very helpful thing resiliency wise.
Absolutely.
And deliver.
Yeah. I am not an expert in these signs or the process, just to be transparent. But I was like one of the members of this small but mighty team of our landscape architects and our parks team has actually been working on some of the replacement of some of these signs, sorry. And so she's become very familiar with this process and procedure and probably could be someone we could tap into for insight on how do you go about influencing. I think I even have something in my email that I'd be happy to share on like kind of her summary on how this process is and who dictates the rules, and then we can go from there.
That would be great.
I don't know if she's still with City of Tampa, Carla Price, with
Yeah,
the Parks Department.
Yeah, she retired, yeah, but it's the same team, so her legacy lives on. This
Yeah,
is
she was-
this is Danielle who I'm talking
The
about.
lead on that
Yeah.
prior years, yeah.
Yeah, they're, it's kind of crazy. I was like, Tony's doing, seawall stuff and multimodal, they get pulled into crazy amount of, directions, which makes them amazing, but also busy, some very busy people, 3-4 people for the city.
I had something.
Yeah.
I don't mean to tell you something that you might already know, that the
Please.
NSAP did the seawall inventory.
I know, I do know that, but
They coupled it with an opportunity
Yeah.
to talk to the public about what they know about responsibilities of their private seawalls. So it was an education for them.
that's great.
And they also took information about what they like the city to do if they wanted to change the responsibility. Like who can do what
Yeah.
regarding the seawall. So they were taking a temperature check about that, which could be a cool opportunity as you're updating your bigger, what do you say, your land use code?
My code, yeah.
Yeah, because if you wanted to align some language about alternatives for shorelines, let's say, Fontana doesn't have, like living shoreline opportunity, really people can only get permits for X, Y, Z.
Right.
You could tie in what the, residents are interested in exploring regarding maintenance and things. Like, city wants to take on maintenance, reduce erosion behind the seawall. I don't think you would know what the residents are interested in and be able to tie in with your changes as you're building.
No, that's a great idea. I actually emailed Nathan yesterday, just to even get like a cost estimate of like how much was it, so that we can start planning from a budget ask standpoint. And obviously, this wasn't the budget season to ask for anything extra, unfortunately.
All right, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, and please do, if you could hang out around so we can get your contact info.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Stop presenting.
And then next up is our consistency recommendation for the right protection project. Both of them are EPC projects. Michael, do you want to go ahead and start giving a summary of the first one?
Yeah, so item 7A is for minor work permit application 82552. It is for a new, well, I guess a replacement dock with a non-covered boat lift and then riprap renourishment. So they have some existing riprap on their shoreline that they're going to be adding to. This one requires a sign off from which neighbor? Looks like it requires one from the southeast neighbor that we're still waiting on. We have not yet received that AONO signed and notarized, so this one isn't ready to be issued yet as a minor work permit, but once we receive that, we move forward. Other than that, nothing special about this one. Any questions or comments?
I'm glad that they ended up going with the riprap. I know these people reached out to me asking for fill.
That would have been, well, and originally, I think 4 of these projects adjacent to each other had all come in together wanting to do a native shoreline project a couple of years ago, but it looks like these are new owners.
Yes.
So
brand new owners.
I'm glad they didn't go from the living shoreline to fill at least.
Me too. Me too.
And then the next item, 7B, is for minor work permit 81018. This is actually a dock and lift that the TAC had looked at before. Originally, one of the neighbors had provided a sign off for setback encroachment. I believe they started work on the dock and the neighbor decided that they no longer wanted it to be within their setback. So long story short, the applicant has flipped the dock and moved it to where now it's not within either riparian setback. So it no longer requires those sign offs. Any questions or comments on that one?
Other than great compromise, I have none. Does anybody have any other questions regarding either of these marine construction projects?
Yes, do we go ahead and preliminarily, say, give it a go ahead and contingent on the neighbor?
To the southeast granting, or do we have to wait until the neighbor signs off?
I think we've typically given, if we still find it consistent with the comp plans, I think we still find it consistent even without the sign offs.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I think the last one that I did, we basically put on the record, we find it consistent as long as the affidavit of no objection signed off from the neighbor is provided. Great question.
Yep, that was it for me.
So do we move to confine both projects consistent with the project 81018, finding consistent contingent upon the neighbor's affidavit of no objection? Do we have a motion?
To approve.
Second?
Second.
Perfect. All right. Both projects are found consistent. Last but not least, other business.
You do have an addendum,
Do I
Madam
have the
Chair.
addendum?
I haven't given it to you. I apologize. It's not on, it's written on your agenda, but under other business, we do need to make a recommendation for a river stewardship award
That's where I'm
this
going.
year. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Interrupted you.
No, you're good.
Yeah, because it's not written on your agenda. I apologize. for that.
Yeah. Yes, so other business, I think this is the only other business, is the river stewardship nominees. And Diego was kind enough to give us our previous lists. And so last year, Friends of the River was awarded. And you can, if anybody needs the list, we can pass the list around again. I have it printed. Does anybody want to see it? Okay, everybody did their homework? Awesome. Okay, so I have the same nominee that I nominated last year. It was the retired firefighter, Frank Lito, that actually called in the equipment company that was removing large trees and native vegetation from Hillsborough River, and he reported it to EPC. EPC investigated it, stopped the action from happening, saved the habitat of the river. So I do have that, I printed off that, report again, the newspaper article. And then the second nominee that I have is open for discussion completely. But I feel like the Hillsborough River cleanups have been constantly headed up by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, the county's rapid response team, and the city of Tampa's Marine Unit, and Hillsborough County Code Enforcement Mr. Joe Gross. Joe Gross has basically said that he doesn't want to be nominated in the past while he's working for the county. But I feel like the county's rapid response team is always being helpful, providing their staff, the expertise, the equipment needed to conduct these cleanups, which would not be successful without any of that. So I would like to nominate the second nominee, potentially being the county's rapid response team. And I also have an article of a recent cleanup event that they did on Hillsborough River that Joe was supposed to run to. If anybody would like, well, I'm not gonna give you a chance, I'm gonna pass it along. Does anybody else have any nominees?
I did have a nominee and I sent a letter documenting it to Diego earlier. I know he's not here, but it'd be for Nancy Bird, who is the spearhead. She also does it with the help of her husband, but the two of them have been running a program up at New World, which is on Skagway near Nebraska Avenue for the last 4 years. And by my rough, pretty accurate estimate, they've touched about 5,000 people through these presentations. They're usually on science. They're almost always on science, but a significant number of them are on our waterway, from the rain swamp down through the river system and out to the bay. And I don't know why this was just totally random, but I had one of their flyers from one event probably a couple of years ago on artificial reefs. But they've had programs on artificial reefs, living shorelines, and these are generally professors or people in the conservation end of the world system who come and present. And usually about 100 participants come to these events and learn. A previous recipient of ours was Sid Flannery, who is often at these, and he's often asking questions. It's generally a presentation on the topic about the water quality, conservation, shorelines, advocacy, and then it's a very engaging process that Nancy and her husband create there at New World. A lot of enthusiasm comes from it, and you see people wanting to sign up and be part of the process, part of the solution. We've seen titles like Wetlands Beyond Wetland, Allowable Drawdown of Water Flow from the Swift Mud. That was a Sid Flannery presentation. We've been to quite a few of their presentations over the years. Fish Habitats of Tampa Bay, microplastics within coastal squids. So they do everything from the green swamp all the way down. And so their focus has been on the river system. But big river system from the source all the way out to the bay. And I thought because of the number of people that they've touched through their programs and how many they've encouraged, they've been I think a very powerful force in getting people to become self-advocates or join in the movement for saving the river and helping the river and promoting it for its conservation level. I think that a lot of what they do is to create an exciting environment and then have great mixture of students, lay people like myself, just from residents along in Hillsborough, as well as grad students and professors at the university. We're all there, so it's very much a science geeky kind of environment, but
they've had 40 presentations just on water issues, touching the river. So that was my spiel.
And that group is called New World.
New World, I think they used to be called New World Brewery years ago, but they've become much bigger. They've grown beyond the brewery idea to a lot more outdoor events, a lot more they have a big Earth Day ceremony, all day event there every year too, around April 22nd.
Forward their link to Diego and it's.
Sure, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we do kind of have to make a vote now because we don't have a meeting in July, and then this needs to be presented to the river board for their approval, right? At the next
Yeah, because the river board is gonna meet next month and they need to make a decision next month so that we can have it ready for the October awards program. 'Cause they only meet quarterly, so the way timing is, we do need a motion and a second for a recommendation to the river board on one of these nominations.
Does everybody want to take like 2 minutes, couple minutes to just think about this real quick and ponder it?
I have one other topic.
You do have one more, perfect.
So one thing that jumped out at me on the list, first of all, cast your vote for the rapid response team. But anyway, law enforcement wasn't noted in the list. And I think just about every agency locally has the law enforcement, not all law enforcement, every Marine unit, but kind of overlapping into their observation. But the cleanups, we did the river cleanup. Temple Terrace Police Department has a Marine unit. What's kind of unique about theirs is not only do they do the river as part of the city, they go into Tampa down to 40th Street. Go up as north, far north as Nature's West. So they're really serving all of them. Not only are they doing safety, waterways calm, they're also looking for wildlife issues, poaching, things like that. So I think, if it's not this year, definitely keep them in mind. I have a pre-nomination for next year. Next year, the Temple Terrace as well, the River Watch Task Force is for 20 years. Still do meet. They did get an award from the planning commission, executive directors, award back in 2011. They probably get the recognition. I'll try to.
And you are right. They did reference the Marine unit. They referenced the City of Tampa Marine unit in one of the articles and the Hillsborough County Marine unit, since they both help out with those cleanups. So thank you for definitely pointing that out, because without them as well, the cleanups wouldn't be quite as nice. And they're every day out there manning the river.
I used to be on the, when I was at the district, I would go to the River Watch Task Force meetings, which are a different tone than what we have here. But it was kind of contentious for a little bit because it's considered dam operations, which are governed by the city and somewhat to a lesser degree by the district, affect greatly the middle upper river. And it was always interesting because the Marine unit came to all those meetings. They talk about all the things they've been seeing, and they're helping Bob Luce sometimes when he was doing his trash pickup because he only had so much room on his little kayak. And they'd come by on Carolina skiff, so that is, it's actually really good because I know that the City of Tampa Marine units are out there, and I'm not sure so much about Hillsborough when it comes to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office when it comes to the river. I think they tend more to the, to the Bay Area, but I think, yeah, Temple Terrace Marine unit definitely punches above their weight considering, the size of that force and the expanse of natural river that they have stewardship over.
So would your nominee be for the City of Temple Terrace and City of Tampa Marine unit, or just one or the other? Specifically Temple Terrace?
They're called, I think exact names. I think they call it Marine Patrol.
Yes. All right, that's 4. I think I counted that right. 4 nominees. The one retired fireman who reported the removal activities in the river. We have the Hillsborough County Rapid Response Team, and then we have the New World, and then we have the City of Tampa Temple Terrace Marine Patrol Unit. Do y'all want a minute to think about it, to look anything up before we vote?
Well, this is something that the ex officios vote up too, right?
No. Ex officios don't vote
For this one.
for anything.
This was more of a, I don't know.
It's still an action by the TAC to make a formal recommendation to the river board, so all the actual members of those.
Is everybody ready to do the first vote, see what numbers we get? All right, so I guess,
I just want to know if I vote. I don't want to embarrass myself later. Am I someone, TBRPC, is that someone?
Yes, you're a member. Yes, absolutely. Please use your vote.
all right, so let's just do this, raising the hand and just get a tally for the retired firemen who reported the Hillsborough River removal. Okay. Second, the Hillsborough County Rapid Response Team. Okay. The New World. I realized I vote twice. Okay. Last one, the City of Temple Terrace Marine Patrol Units.
T4 hands.
I think we found our winner for recommending to our river board and.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see, I think you have 5. Good 8. Yeah, I think to make it official, you should probably now have someone make a formal motion that that be the recommendation at the second and then on favor.
Perfect. Okay. Do we have a recommendation for,
Motion for the Temple Terrace Police Marine Patrol Unit to be the recommended award winners this year, recommending to the river board.
thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the City of Temple Terrace Marine Patrol Unit to be awarded the River Stewardship Award for 2026?
So moved.
You have a second? Okay, that's a third. Wonderful.
And then I call for a vote again.
And then raise your hand for any of all the yays. Okay. Are there any nays? Does that work?
Yep, unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you for the act.
Wonderful.
Just to finish out that, so that'll go to the river board as your recommendation next month when they meet, and assuming they will follow through. And also, just so you have it on your radar, the awards program that's going to occur on October 29th this year. So mark your calendars, hold that date open that evening. We'd love for all the river TAC and river board members to attend, and even everyone ex officio, your members as well. And it's a great photo opportunity when they get the award, everybody gets on stage and take pictures. It's very nice.
Yes, and Joel has already, with Tico, has already purchased table. So take the opportunity to join us, please, and give the award out and show respect to these wonderful people who have been our river stewards. It's also really cool to see all of the other awards that are presented for all of the other green initiatives and good infrastructure and just redevelopment projects around Tampa Bay area. So it is a very educational as well, and you get a free meal.
Thanks to Joel.
Thanks to Joel. It's
Very, very generous, Joel. Thank you.
So we have a presenting sponsor, we get 2 tables. So generally have our, table, we don't have my environmental team, but in my role at the TAC and my other hat, I kind of take personal privilege to reserve that for the TAC and some of the awardees. So if someone from the mayor, city of St. Sarah's wanted to come, I believe the Councilman Maniscalco came last year. It was nice to kind of have our little group together because when it came time to go for the stewardship award, we weren't all coming from the bleachers and the rafters and all just like this. Like we all kind of were one cohesive unit. It was nice. And I think you brought, it was 2 years ago at our planning commission sponsored.
That is great. It's very generous of Joel and Tico. I appreciate that because there is a cost to regular attendees. The first thing is the government putting on an event. We can't use our budget to pay for these things. It has to be a zero gain program for us. So, but very generous of Tico and Joel to do that. Thank you.
At the armory. It'll be October 29th.
October 29th is the date. Yes.
And there's usually like a happy hour before, and then I think the awards start at like 6 o'clock-ish.
Something like that. Most of the planning commissioners, almost all of them go and they're part of the program. They get up and award awards. So our planning commissioner, Mr. Kluber will be part if he attends. That'd be great.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It'll be at the River Center or?
I think it's usually at
the JCC.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Field Armory, JCC, yeah.
How many awards are there? 12 or something?
Well, it varies year to year because actually it's on merit of individual awards. And we have a group of judges who are not affiliated with us, who are outside judges. And then there's different levels of awards, like award of merit, award of, I can't remember the terminology used. And then they're not competing against each other. They're competing on the criteria of the award. So, you never know what's going to happen. Some years we have a lot of awards, some a few fewer.
Does anybody have any other questions regarding the awards banquet? Does anybody have any other business to bring up? Thank you. On July 10th, Port Tampa Bay is doing a harbor tour that is environmentally themed. So if I have forgotten to invite you, please bat me on the head. I'm not usually the one to kind of wrangle guest speakers and the event tables. The last couple of years, I think this is like the third year we've done specifically an environmentally themed. There's been close to like 200 kids. I think one year we were at the max, like 300 on the boat. It was packed. But it's kids of all ages, different years of schooling. There's also parents who oh my God, homeschool. That's the thing that it's called. Homeschool groups that came in, older professionals, retirees, people who were visiting Tampa and had never really seen the Bay Area. So it is really cool if you've never come to the port and actually have been on a boat to actually see the actual port area in some of our channels. This is the opportunity that you can literally be inside the port on one of these boats and actually see firsthand all of the activities that go on. And then we are going to be skirting a couple of the bird sanctuary islands as well. Alafaya Banks Islands, that's right at the mouth of the Alafaya. We will be skirting that. And it is bird nesting season, so you will see lots of birds. Usually there's dolphins or manatees that we'll see. And I would very much like to invite anybody that would like to come and have a table. Please do bop me on the head, literally bop me on the head. Thank you for that reminder.
And then if you're interested, the Suncoast chapter of ASPO, the American Society of Public Administration, has a tour of the port this Thursday. Say it's like 1:30, it's an ad and then small kind of work for on board you. So there still are spaces. Be behind the booth one day.
Great. I'll just add, you don't have a meeting next month. It's July. So no TAC meeting. There is a board meeting. It is Monday, July 27th at 9:30 a.m. in this room. Everyone's invited. You don't have to come, other than we do ask our officers to come if they're available to inform the formal river board of what the TAC has been doing for the last 3 months. So 9:30 a.m., 9:30 starts in this room. Monday, July 26th. That's all I have.
All right, well, if nobody else has anything, nobody online, anything?
Parking passes too.
Yes, and don't forget your parking passes. Okay, well, then we will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. That was a signature.
Hey,